What movie ending made you say, "What the F?"
Story 1, The Mist. I was totally thrown as I was expecting it to end the same as the short story. King said it's one of his biggest regrets that he didn't come up with that ending on his own. I also like the comment of somebody describing the film as rather meh, but the ending was brilliant. I don't know what film that ending belongs to, but I really want to watch it. To be fair, King also did a lot of nose candy. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I vastly prefer the book's ending. The movie ending just peed me off because it just felt like a big old F you to the viewers and the main character. Sometimes life just gives you a big old F you and there's nothing you can do but hold it. I get that movies are about escapism, but they also have some grounded parts. The film ending is superior because the entire film is about fear, first from what is in the mist and then from each other. The book ending is classic horror. The film ending emphasizes the lesson inherent to all that fear and what it really means and how everyone succumbs to it. Same, I was super impressed in a what the F wow way when he shot them, and then the army showed up, and I started laughing at just how brutal an ending it was. Laughing in appreciation, mind you. I love it when a movie or book can do that to me. Holy F, I've never found the answer I was looking for faster than this. That ending was one of those things where I was like, now that's just stupid, what a dumb movie. And then a few years later, I'm like, crap, that's the darkest, most twisted ending I've ever seen, and I love it. I'm not personally all that into horror movies. I don't care for them all that much, but I did see this movie, and I do like a movie that makes me feel sad. And the ending of this movie absolutely accomplished that. And yeah, it was very just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, And hey, Stephen King didn't have to write in some weird, child intercourse scene, you creep. Story 2, 10 Cloverfield Lane. I was expecting something completely different. I loved that movie. John Goodman absolutely kills it. That and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou are my two favorite film roles from him. Not a film, but you should watch Righteous Gemstones if you haven't. My wife and most of my friends strongly disagree with me, but I would have rated that movie near the top of my list had it ended when Michelle opened the hatch. I like the original ending. She kills him, escapes, gets in a car, and starts driving. Movie ends with her coming up in a completely destroyed Chicago, then that's it. I think a better ending for it would be if she escaped, got to the car, then in the distance you vaguely see the ship, and it ends on a note of, holy crap, he was right, without having the action scene at the end. I forgot it exactly, but if you watch Cloverfield and something else when they return on the particle accelerator, something happens in the other movie. You have to start them at the same time, and it lines up perfectly. 10 Cloverfield Lane is such a good movie, and that was the movie that really showed me that John Goodman is a truly incredible actor. But yeah, the whole ending and connecting it to Cloverfield, because there's the original Cloverfield movie, then 10 Cloverfield Lane, which apparently originally not related to Cloverfield at all, they just shoehorned that in, and then the other one they're talking about is Cloverfield Paradox on Netflix, which is just not a great movie. And yeah, stuff might line up. I don't need that. I just wanted the good part of 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is seriously like 95% of it. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Story 3, The Prestige. My favorite part of my first experience with watching The Prestige was surprise David Bowie as Nikola Tesla. I was like, wait, holy crap, that's David Bowie! Tesla is immortal. It's a side effect of all the electricity. David Bowie is his current cover identity. Yeah, that game of one-upsmanship got so out of hand so fast, and the ethical and existential question of it are so bananas. Story 4. Pretty sure Sorry to Bother You takes the cake for going in a whole new direction I never saw coming and making me go, what the F? Holy crap, my friend told me we were going to a movie about a guy working in a call center and his struggles. I was not prepared. Seriously, I was high as balls when I saw it too. What a ride. If I watched that on any substance, I'm 100% positive I'd believe I hallucinated the last half of the movie. If you haven't seen I Am a Virgo, you should check it out. Same guy that did Sorry to Bother You, and just as weird. Story 5. Saw 1. I didn't expect the whole twist when I first saw it. Saw's ending was so effing good. Pacing and screenplay for that final scene were perfect, and it had me gaping at the screen. At it, I've been reminded of just how much the music pulls it all together. It is indeed so incredibly hype in a way that has a mass effect without even trying hard. My old friend Lay wrote and acted in it. He's a good dude. I'm sorry, excuse me, are you messing with us right now? Are you for real friends with Lay Whannell? Because if you are, that's the coolest thing ever. I love absolutely everything he does. Yeah, he's a great guy. I dated his brother-in-law. I met them in a crazy way and had no idea who he was till a bit later. It's always fun to see his new stuff. That is so freaking cool. I love all his movies, but when I was in college, I was obsessed with Dead Silence.
I absolutely do not like any of the Saw movies from Saw 2 on up. Just not my thing. I don't like torture-y movies and stuff like that. But Saw 1, the original cut didn't show a whole lot of gore and stuff. It was more suggestive and it was cool. And the twist at the end was like, oh, holy crap. Like, Saw 1, great movie. And that's the one movie that I'm happy I saw.
Story 6. The ending of The Sixth Sense when you realize the truth about the main character is definitely a mind-blowing twist. I finally understand the ending of The Sixth Sense. Those names are the people who worked on the movie. Tracy Jordan, 30 Rock. Yeah, the guy with the hairpiece, it's Bruce Willis the whole time. That's not the twist, Charlie. I was a kid when I watched this and was super pumped when I heard there was a big twist at the end. However, when the end actually came, the twist was revealed in a far more visual, unspoken manner, so my idiot child brain didn't understand it and my mom had to explain it to me. I'm still so mad about it. I wished I waited until I was just a bit older to watch it so I could experience that holy crap moment that everyone else got to experience. Story 7. 7. My local comic and gaming store sometimes posts to their Facebook page unopened boxes of new deliveries. I got into the habit of replying with screen caps from the ending scene of 7. They haven't made one of those posts in a while. I still remember the dead silence in the theater when it ended. Story 8. From Dusk Till Dawn. Wait, rewind that. Was that an effing vampire? What the hell just happened? Did they look like psychos? Is that what they look like? They were vampires. Psychos don't explode when sunlight hits them. I don't give an F how crazy they are. Has to be one of the best lines ever. That and, I may be an a-hole, but I'm not an effing a-hole, is up there too. Clooney's best role, I'd argue. Apparently he says bastard and not a-hole, so my entire world is crashing down. Years of incorrectly quoting this movie. I always look at it as two separate movies. One that ends when they get to the bar. The second movie starts in a crappy bar. Some friends put this on after a few beers. Oh cool, a Tarantino movie, I thought. That was all I knew going into it, and the first act was pretty standard fare. I won't spoil it, but I literally yelled, "What the F?" at the TV when the second act started. Well, it's a Robert Rodriguez film, though Tarantino wrote some of the script. So Tarantino films take place within a cinematic universe, but some of his movies are movies that happen within that universe. So the really outlandish ones are movies that his other film characters watch. Edit, still true, but From Dusk Till Dawn is a Robert Rodriguez film. Story 9, The Usual Suspects, 1995. It wasn't spoiled before watching it. Someone told me beforehand, I won't tell you the twist, but it's not who you expect it to be. So yeah, after that basically knew who it was from the start, effers. Yeah, I had just broken up with someone and was feeling kinda down, decided to take a walk through the arty part of town and saw the poster for this in a local independent theater. Thought it looked cool and decided to go to the movie by myself. One of my best movie theater experiences ever.
It's always so discouraging when there are these just like amazing classic movies from, the 80s, 90s, or even before that everyone's like, oh, it's the most incredible movie, you have to see it. But part of that is based on like how perfectly they set up the twist, because everyone's told you the twist by this point. Like, I go back and watch Citizen Kane, but everyone's already told me what Rosebud is. If you don't know and you've escaped it, watch Citizen Kane before it's spoiled. And just like this for The Unusual Suspects, I found out the twist of this movie before I knew what this movie was, and now that part's ruined for me. And I know a movie is more than just its twist, but it sucks.
Story 10, Gone Girl. Man, that movie is actually so good. I feel like that was during a weird Ben Affleck hate era, but the man's a way better actor than I think people gave him credit for. He's great in Deep Water, similar tonal feel to Gone Girl with Ana de Armas. Poor Neil Patrick Harris's character. Feel sorry for my sister. She's got to be so annoyed at all the trouble the main character gets into by thinking with his D. Rosamund Pike still creeps me out because of this movie. Story 11. Shutter Island. This is my favorite film. I was quite young when I first watched it, and it blew my mind. And I love showing it to people who have never seen it, and you realize so much more every time you watch it. Story 12. 2001, A Space Odyssey. What the F? I thought this was supposed to be one of the best movies of all time. Instead, it feels like I'm watching 2 hours of pretty screensavers with 1% of it having an actual story. I'm sorry, Dave. I get why you would think that now. To be fair, back in the day, it was mind-blowing. This was even before Star Wars, Jaws, and The Exorcist, so we were easily impressed with the special effects. No matter, the idea that Hal decides to kill was very terrifying. I was scrolling all the comments, hiding those from movies I hadn't seen and likely never will, just to find this comment. Sorry if you've heard this before, but it really does make sense if you read the book. Story 13. What did the old lady hear at the end of Martyrs? French version. I need to know. I think it was Spooky Rice that did a video on this movie recently on YouTube. He said, since it's open to interpretation, he thinks it could either be there is something after death but you're not going to see it, or it can't be described, and so she offers herself to find out immediately. I like both of those possibilities. I don't know why I have literally never heard anyone mention the possibility of there is something and it's horrible no matter how you lived. I watched this for the first time recently. My interpretation is that if you know, you can't survive. The martyrs themselves only see/know in the immediate period before death and are tapping into some kind of divinity which is inherently unknowable, and knowing is incompatible with mortal life. Therefore, the one time a martyr can see or articulate it to another human, that human is going to self-destruct.
I'm genuinely interested because I know my audience here tends to skew younger for the most part, but are there any movies that I've brought up here that you haven't seen or maybe even haven't heard about that now from this stuff you're like, ooh, I gotta check that out? Because this is it for me. I have no idea what this movie is. I've never heard of it, but now I really want to see it. And the folks were vague enough to where I don't feel anything's too ruined for me. So yeah, check this out.
Story 14. Hereditary for sure. My ex-boyfriend and I almost broke up over this movie. He was a film nut and thought it was a masterpiece, his new favorite film. As he's praising every little detail on the car ride home, I'm just combing through Google for explanations. He noticed and flipped out, unable to comprehend that some of us didn't really understand what was happening. It got worse when our friends went to see it and also had no idea what was happening for the entire movie. I'm still so confused, laughed my butt off. If you're still confused, the family matriarch, the grandma, was in a cult devoted to King Paimon. They were attempting a ritual to raise him, and they needed a vessel for him. You're led to believe it's the sister, but turns out it has to be a male, so is the son. And he has to be psychologically broken in order for Paimon to seize control of him, which is where all the torture and death comes in. He watches his whole family die and then is possessed at the end. The daughter was possessed, but they had to correct his vessel. Once Charlie died, it was time to finish the ritual. The matriarch kept trying to use her male family members as a vessel, but they kept killing themselves. First Annie's father, then her brother, then Charlie died by accident. Peter didn't end up the vessel until the end because Annie kept him away from her mother when he was young, so she didn't have a chance to offer him. After she died and Charlie died, the cult steps in and removes the rest of the family so Peter could be Paimon's vessel as they promised. Story 15. No Country for Old Men. Yes, especially when they say, what are we, some kind of no country for old men? That movie scarred me for life. Every time I see Javier Bardem, I get goosebumps and a flashback. Story 16. Interstellar. Watch your daughter die and then zipline it to get laid. Well, she did say nobody should see their child die. I guess he said yep and hauled butt for the 90% booty call while Tars watched. Did we watch the same movie? I'll admit it's been a few years since I watched it, but I definitely don't remember that. Finds themselves outside Jupiter, goes to the bedroom with their daughter and all her progeny to see her off, says goodbye, sheds a tear. Next cut is McConaughey off to see Hathaway. Have you seen Anne Hathaway?
Yes, I have seen Anne Hathaway, and as Matthew McConaughey, I think that she's all right, all right, all right. That joke is so overplayed, I'm sorry.
Story 17. Lucy. She turns into an effing supercomputer at the end. Sometimes I think I must be the only person on here that enjoyed Lucy. I mean, sure, the 10% of your brain stuff is dumb, but if you just watch it as Lady takes magic brain-enhancing drugs and does cool stuff, it's a fun little fantasy. I told my boyfriend she became a thumb drive in the end, and he didn't believe me. She didn't become a thumb drive. She left behind a thumb drive. Story 18. Documentary called Abducted in Plain Sight. My husband and I were saying what the F through this whole show. Was that the one where the predator seduces everyone in the family, including the mother and the father separately? I still make jokes to my wife about the guy's reason for jacking his friend off. He told me he needed some relief, so I reached over. This one angered me so much. Those stupid, stupid parents. Story 19. Tusk, and not just the ending. Walruses and mackerel are ruined for me. Some people tell me they find that movie comedic, and I can't even get mad because it's so balls to the wall. But no, for me, no man, never again. If I'm ever at an aquarium again or a zoo, I'm avoiding some crap. Okay, so I've seen a Siberian film and Human Centipede and a whole other slew of disturbing movies, yet Tusk is the one movie that has stuck with me to such an extent. It was the most disturbing thing I've ever seen, and I hated it, and I'm mad at my friend for making me watch it. One day I'll gather the strength to make my boyfriend watch it with me so he can understand my pain. But it's hard because I really don't want to rewatch it myself, LOL. I can't look at walruses the same, scarred for life. We don't talk about Tusk.
You know, I refused to watch Tusk with some friends, and now I feel justified in that because it definitely sounds like not my kind of movie. And you might say, but why did you refuse to watch it? No reason. I definitely wouldn't admit online that I really don't like Kevin Smith movies because that would be bad and people would yell at me in the comments. So that's not the reason.
Story 20. Primal Fear. My brother and I were young adults watching this movie in the basement at our parents' house. We ran upstairs when it was over as if a demonstration was chasing us because we were so freaked out. This is the best answer. The acting skills of Edward Norton absolutely blew me away. He played that character so well. I was 17 when I first saw it, and I credit it as the movie that got me to see film as art. Story 21. Mother was one that had me go, what the F? Well, it started quite early. It clicked midway what I was watching, but still what the F, right till the end. It was like multiple versions too. What the F am I watching? What the F? Annoying. What the F? Getting really frustrated / angry. What the F? That movie made me so uncomfortable and my anxiety just kept rising higher and higher the whole time, even though the plot itself was kind of boring. Okay, so many people have said that definitely I am not watching that movie. I have never read about anyone who actually liked it. Story 22. Avengers Infinity War. Gave birth to my son 2 days before its release date and went to go see it because I had been so looking forward to it. I was a hormonal mess. First 5 minutes, Loki died, who's my favorite, and I sobbed like legit ugly cried loud. And then when the ending happened, it was just like, what the F have I just watched? How did it end like that? I was not in the right mind space for it emotionally, but I'd make the same choice again. Watched it in the theater opening week, dead silence right up until one guy literally yelled out, what the F? As the credits were going. I've watched it at home a few times since, and I still hear that what the F every single time as the credits are winding up. Yeah, I saw it in a fairly full theater. It was pretty rowdy too, cheering along with the fight scenes. Come to the end, dead silence.
Okay, look, we've all got superhero movie fatigue. We are all sick to death of Marvel movies, or at least I think it feels like most of us are. Some of you aren't. Good for you. I'm happy. But I think we can all agree that once Infinity War and Endgame hit, I think it was so good just because it finally wrapped everything up. Like, it's been building for, what, a decade or something? And finally these movies all were like, and done. And it was amazing. And then Disney said, no, never done. Ever.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.